So I wrote a book. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Marcelina. I'm a 15-year-old author of the YA murder mystery romance called The Blood That Divides Us. It is inspired by A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Binding 13. Available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I'll have the links to purchase if you're interested in the description down below. On my channel, I do writing vlogs, editing vlogs, publishing vlogs as we get to that stage, edits of my characters, and really just try to inspire and help out other teen writers to become authors and prove that you can make your dreams come true even at a young age. So, yeah, I actually just finished my second mystery romance book called Labeled Innocent, Presumed Dead. This one is a little bit more inspired by the Natural series, mixed with the Inheritance games, mixed with Pretty Little Liars, mixed with like some actual true crime cold cases, all woven into one. It is a standalone. Some tropes include found family. That's a huge element. There is a love triangle, but I promise it's a twist on it, so it's not the cringy one that everybody and their mothers hate. There's a lot of mental health rep, disability rep, an FBI secret society, a pink-haired diva hacker FMC, a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma, secrets, betrayals, a missing girl who may or may not be dead. So, if any of that sounds interesting to you, I feel like you would really like it. Maybe subscribe my channel. This book is coming out on Valentine's Day, February 14th of next year, 2026. So mark your calendars, mark your TBRs. I will be doing a cover reveal and adding it to Goodreads as we get a little bit closer with the pre-order campaign. I haven't set a date for that quite yet, but I'm thinking that'll happen more around November, December. So stay tuned for that. So this is not my usual vlog style, but this was my last writing vlog. I did a 10K day, I finished the book, I recorded my reaction, gave a little bit of closing thoughts, all in this one. So if you have not seen it, I would recommend watching it first and then coming back, because I'll be referencing some things. I just kind of wanted to take this time to do a little rambly chat reflection about like how the entire process went. I talked a little bit in the last vlog about like how finishing the book felt and how that 10K day challenge had gone, but I never really touched on the overall process. I've done vlogs every single week, but I have a lot to get into, a lot of opinions, a lot of statistics. I was really just messily scribbling things in my notebook before this, so I have some numbers for you guys, which I thought would be interesting. So this is just gonna kind of be like my experience as a teenager during my summer break writing a book. Let's start with some background. I released this book in January 25th to be exact. And I know, especially as an indie author, where I don't have a publishing team behind me, I'm marketing it 100% myself. Like, I do have some lovely followers and readers, thank you guys so much, you know who you are, who post about it, who have read it and post review or post edits about it out of their own free will. Like, I don't ask them to do it, and that really does help out with promoting as well. But for the most part, I am growing my channel with just marketing. And if you go on my channel, you'll notice, especially with my short form videos and edits, I don't make book edits. I don't make edits of anything else but my book. And that's not of a selfish reason. I'm trying to build a business and a career out of this. And with marketing really transitioning into fully social media nowadays, that's like how 90% of effective advertising can work. I really want to make the most of it. So people say that you shouldn't just give up on marketing your book right after it releases, but I kind of did that because not even 3 weeks after this book came out and I should have been dedicating all my time to marketing it, I did. You'll notice I have a lot of videos. I did do something, okay, that counts. But around, I want to say it was around Valentine's Day or maybe even a couple of days earlier, I recorded myself with this video. I never posted it, so you guys can't find it anywhere, but this was the first time I came up with the original concept, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have this good idea. I kind of think there's something here. So I'm gonna put it on the screen, and just know, like, this was the day in February that I kind of thought that this would be my next book, but I wasn't sure yet. Okay, so here I am, guys. It is currently February 18th. Just got back from school, and I have to say, I was sitting in algebra today, and I was watching this like deep dive on YouTube of Pretty Little Liars, and I was like low-key missing the show. So that brought me to a whirlwind of ideas, and let's just say now, even though my first mystery romance book, The Love That Divides Us, only released like a month ago, and I really should be prioritizing marketing that, I have a new book idea. Inspired by the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes and Pretty Little Liars. I'm thinking it's gonna kind of be like an FBI Secret Society mystery romance, twists and turns. Yeah, so we haven't even started outlining. Like, I'm not announcing it technically. I'm gonna refrain from announcing it anywhere at the moment because things could change, and it's only February. If I were to write this book, I would start writing during the summer, and we're looking at like a winter at best, but most likely spring of 2026 release. So it just doesn't make sense to announce it now. Haven't even officially started outlining it. I'm just kind of doing my brain dump, and then I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. So future self, do I actually end up pursuing this idea, or is it just a waste of my time? Because I really don't know at this point, but we shall see. It's interesting to entertain it, let's just say that. So yeah, that happened. And it was shortly after that I couldn't help myself. I caved, and I was like, we are writing this. I don't care. At that time, I'm not even gonna lie, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to publish. I was so excited, as you can tell from that video. My excitement and my enthusiasm and anticipation of like, wait, I kind of love this, was just flowing. I hadn't really written anything in a really long time because the past few months had been either really focused on editing or marketing for the release, because if you've ever published a book, like a book release is a lot. It was the first time in a really long time, maybe even since The Blood That Divides Us, that I was like, I'm really passionate about writing again. Shortly after that, literally a few days later, I started my brain dump document. I have a whole playlist of videos on my outlining, so I'm not really going to talk about outlining here, but I recorded all of that. I treated it as if I was taking it seriously, which I didn't think I was, but then I was. And then I was like, okay, here's the thing about me. I can outline. If you notice, February to May was my timeline for outlining. So yes, I can work during school. I mean, I literally published my book in January, which means all of the editing and release marketing stuff happened while I was in school, throughout the school year. So I can totally multitask and I can totally balance it. It's not a problem. I've learned to adapt and find a schedule and routine, so I'm not letting any balls drop. I'm prioritizing everything I need to while still prioritizing my grades. There is something that's kind of easy, at least for me, about doing line edits while I'm in school, formatting or marketing, sending out arcs in between classes, but I cannot write during school. Like, I did that last year, but it is such a struggle for me. There's just something about first draft writing. I need to be so focused, so locked in, and so I always write books during the summer, and then I spend the year editing, which is why you're like, why do you always do beginning of the year releases, Marcelina? Because it takes me roughly 6 months to get a book from the starting rough draft stage to finished product publishing stage. And because I always write my books during the summer, I've literally been doing this since I was like in middle school, like 6th or 7th grade. Summers are just my prime time, and then that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. But anyway, I was like, okay, my school gets out May 23rd, May 24th. That's it. There was no other option for me. I wasn't gonna be like waiting and waiting. I was so hyped about this. So May 24th it was. The day that I started was in fact May 24th. I guess we're gonna get into statistics now. Yeah, actually, let's just go through this whole segment. So, the first day that I started writing, which wasn't even the first chapter, mind you. I'm trying to remember. I could go back and look at the blogs, but I'm kind of lazy. I think, because this book has a kind of long prologue, I promise it's there intentionally. I am going to ask beta readers in a future draft, because I struggled with it, but needs to be long, because it's like a really really big deal. It's a massive plot point that this whole book kind of centers around, and it's referenced multiple times, and there was some foreshadowing in there that leads to a discovery slash plot twist revelation, but like the FMC kind of figures out on her own later on in the book. So on the first day I started writing, May 24th, I wrote 1,333 words. So that was my starting day, which was actually really good. That set me up really well, and it was so funny because then the next day I literally wrote my second lowest at 860 something words. So I think the momentum was just like the first chapters for me are such a struggle, so I think that had something to do with it, because then I managed to peak right back up. But speaking of my highest and lowest, let's talk about that. So my actual lowest amount of words that I wrote in a single day was actually 4 days ago. It was July 21st. It is July 25th when I'm filming this. Here's the thing. If you didn't know, I finished the book yesterday on the 24th. I did the 10K day on the 23rd. The 21st and 22nd, I was prepping so much, so extensively to try and make sure I outlined enough, make sure I had enough to write. I didn't write, that was the thing, because I wanted to save all my like writing juices and creative energy for the 10K day, so I made sure I was not gonna burn out. So it makes sense that that was my lowest day. It's kind of an outlier in the data. It skews up my graph on my word tracker, but that one I only wrote 779 words. And again, that's not bad. I know a lot of writers in my circle, like they tell me that that's kind of their average, like 1,000 or less is their average, and that is perfectly fine. I just want to emphasize that that is valid, that is normal, and I'm so happy that you're working at a pace that is fine for you, and it's just words on the page. I don't mean to make anyone feel bad or like compare. I just think that everyone is on their own journey, everyone has their own speed and writing pace, especially because I feel like if you're a plotter versus a pantser, I feel like plotters kind of have an easier time anyway because outlines are proven to like accelerate the process a little bit, and I am like the biggest outliner you'll ever meet. So for me, 700 is like not it. I was so unmotivated, but also like that was kind of the point. And you'll see that it pays off, because my highest day, without a doubt, I didn't even know if this should count or if I should just go to like my actual valid highest day, but we're just going with this. It was obviously the 10K day where I wrote 10,245 words. That was July 23rd. That's my best writing day ever in my life, okay? Forget this book, like that blew me away. I will never be doing that again. It was one of those things where it's like, it's fine in the moment, but then you feel that crash and that burn afterward. Like the pain just kicks in the next day. It helped me get a lot done, but oh my gosh, was that a memorable moment in this journey, I suppose. Anyway, for more statistics, I might as well just talk about a couple of random things that tie into this, that my word tracker, Pacemaker, which if you don't know, it's a free website. Sounds like it's sponsored. It's not. I just really love this. It is a word tracking website. Technically, I hesitate to say that because it's not really. Have other things you could track, how many pages you're reading in a book, how far you've gotten in your homework. Like, it's just really a planner tracker, but there is a novel word option. So a lot of writers use that. It's very helpful. I get these little graphs. It can project like where you are versus where you should be, if you're on track or not. And it just gives these fun little statistics. So I've been using it for a really long time. I highly recommend at least trying it out. It is pretty user-friendly. The only complaint is that it crashed on me last week and then it logged me out of my account and then it wouldn't let me back in. It was a whole issue, but I got it resolved, luckily. So it gives you like your longest streak, meaning like how many days were you consistently writing and like logging it in. And for me, that was 7 days. It was a week, which you're probably like, Marcelina, what? I know in my vlogs, it seems like I write every day, and I do very much try my hardest to write every single day. Here's the deal. There were a lot of days, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment because that's my next point, but that things just happen. Life just lifed, okay? And I either didn't write at all, or the thing about me is because, which we'll get into it in a second, my average is so high and it makes these like little graphs. And I get paranoid when I'm doing a graph and then there's this one outlier, this one plot point that skews the data and makes the entire graph look off because of just one day. And so because you'll see a lot of my data in that graph is like 1,500, 2,000, 4,000, 2,500. And then we have like a day where this happened quite a bit this summer where I did write. It's not like I didn't write at all. It's not like I didn't touch the manuscript at all. But I would write like 200 words. And I'm like, am I really gonna add 200 words? No. So basically, I would only add days over 1,000 words. Don't worry, I didn't let those words go to waste, but what I did was, let's say I only wrote 70 words one day, because that did happen once. I wrote less than 100. Don't ask, don't judge, please. I was like, this isn't even anything, this is like a tiny grain of salt. So then I just combined it with the day after's word count, which I think was like 1,500 or something, 1,600. So then I just combined that, and then that word count I put as one day. So the words ultimately got added, but basically there were 7 days consecutively that I wrote over 1,000 words without taking a break. That's essentially what it translates to. And then going along with that, I think it's cool. It does the math for you, and it gives you an average out of all of the data of your words that you've logged on to their website. It gives you an average of how many words you have written per day for that project. So for Labeled Innocent, Presumed Dead, my average amount of words has been 2,338, which I think is actually pretty accurate. I don't know why I was expecting less, because I kind of toward the end started to trickle down, and like the last week I had a bunch of just 1,300, 1,200, 1,000, 1,100. It was just like, it felt like honestly my average should be lower, but then also I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm talking about not skewing the data. That 10K day 1,000% skewed the data. There is no doubt in my mind that my average would probably be more around 1,900 or so if we didn't have that whole freaking thing that just skyrockets up. It's insane. I think all in all, like, I found myself on my good writing days, 2,000 was about where I stood. I'm very pleased with that. That's what I want to talk about next. So things were going great. Let's get back to story time. Things were going fine. I was enjoying myself. I wrote the first like 17 chapters, and I just say that very specifically because chapter 17, contingent on if I keep the chapters the same and I don't split any more up, you guys need to prepare for chapter 17. Make a mental note of that. Write it in the notes app of your phone. Keep it in your mind. I don't know. I don't care. Just please, I'm begging you, remember to bring a tissue box to chapter 17. Okay? Okay. That one, it's so weird because you're like, that's literally basically the beginning of the book. I know. Whew, that one is a rough one. And so, but it was also, oh gosh, that sounds bad. Not fun for me to write, but there is a kiss scene in there. Sounds like my book moves too fast. It doesn't, I promise. There's intention and reason behind it. But it was the first kiss scene between who ends up being maybe, or maybe not, the endgame couple. And it's a very, very certain scene that actually I was inspired by it from a Pinterest image. It's a very specific one, so if I can find it, I'll flash it on the screen. I swear, Pinterest gives the best inspiration. And so I love writing angst followed by fluff. I don't know, that's like the best thing in the world for me, and that is basically that chapter in a nutshell. So I was looking forward to writing that, and then I remember I wrote that, and then there was a kind of, one of those kinds of chapters where another guy was jealous, but he didn't have time to be jealous because things were going down. Things were literally hitting the fan and going completely haywire. Everything was falling apart, everything was crumbling, something major happens. And so there's no time for feelings and for little side relationships because there's a much bigger issue they need to deal with. And it was around that part, I remember, but it was very shortly after I wrote the chapter that could be easily my most anticipated chapter that I was looking forward to writing. That sounds so bad. I'm so sorry. According to my records, it was mid-June. It was around like June 11th to, I would say, around June 17th. It was a 5 or 6 day period. I'm forgetting now. I hit the biggest writing slump imaginable. I know I've hit worse slumps, but this one, I don't even want to say writer's block, because the thing is, and I don't really know if there's a difference. In my mind, there is between writer's block and a writing slump. In my personal opinion, I think writer's block is when you really want to write. You feel inspired, you're like, I want to make progress on this book, I want to finish this book, I want to start this book, whatever. You want to write, you have a desire to write. You just have this block, this shield that is preventing those creative ideas from coming out. You're just struggling to articulate things, think of things, figure out a plot hole maybe. On the contrary, I feel like a writing slump is the polar opposite. I feel like it's where you have these ideas. You don't have a block, you know where you're gonna write, especially if you have an outline, but you physically have no energy, no motivation, no desire to work on the book. Does that make sense? If you notice, I always referred to it as a writing slump and not a block, which they're both horrible. I don't want to compare, but I was struggling, and it was not because I didn't have ideas. When I tell you I'm a plotter, I'm a plotter, okay? I outlined this book so much, and so, like, not knowing what's gonna happen next, no. That was never a problem for me. That was never even something in my territory or in my vocabulary while working on this. Like, I always knew what was gonna happen 15 chapters from that point. So it wasn't an issue of like, I don't know what character A is gonna choose, I don't know what's gonna happen to character B. Like, it wasn't that. It was strictly, I had no motivation to work on the book. I fell into this weird pit of like imposter syndrome and procrastination and doubt and like self-doubt in myself and in my book, and I was like, no one's gonna read this. Why am I spending my whole summer working on something that no one's gonna read, that no one's gonna like? Like, bro, it was awful. I would not wish what I was experiencing on my worst enemy because it was bad. It was all just like psychological. I always say that writing is really just psychological, so if you're gonna take anything from this video, writing is all mental, okay? It has nothing to do with any natural ability or anything. It's all in your head. All of that doubt, all of that imposter syndrome, it's so easy to get swept up in it, but it's like, it's just you. There will always be at least one person who would eat up your stories, who is waiting for your stories. The world is waiting for your stories. But if you can change just one person, like, shouldn't that make it all worth it? I don't want to get too into it, but like, have y'all seen the amount of hate Powerless gets? I'm a huge Powerless fan. What can I say? Cancel me, but I devoured it. Pei and Kai are my baby. Adina, my baby. But you can literally search it up. There are full-on like essay rant reviews on Goodreads about how much people hate it. Hour-long rant YouTube videos. It's one of those books you either love it or you absolutely hate it. So you could be like, there are so many people who hate it. But then also, if you can find the right side of the algorithm, do you know how many people love it? It is not a New York Times bestselling series for nothing. There are not hundreds of thousands of 5-star reviews and fan art and edits out there for nothing. Like, every book is gonna have someone who hates it and loves it. You just have to write for you. And I think I was struggling to accept the fact of like, even if no one likes it, I like it. So that's one person. You know what I mean? It's all mindset. I think if you can shift your mindset into realizing that writing is basically just this one big game, and if you can beat it, you are on top. Even if no one plays it, you still won. So anyway, that slump lasted almost a week, and then I got back into it somehow. I found writing sprints really help. Not that I was ever against writing sprints, but I kind of was against writing sprints. I don't know. I just like, they were never my thing. I don't know. Very weird. I know. But they help a ton, and you can find some really good ones on YouTube. You can tune into some live streams. I did that a couple of times. I tuned into the lovely Sarah Sutton's live streams that she's been hosting all summer, which was quite helpful because then you get to chat with actual other writers, and there was like a Q&A portion, and it was really fun. But just giving yourself kind of like dipping your toes into it instead of just trying to do a cannonball in the deep end when you haven't swam in a year is really helpful, I found. I don't want to say that's why, and I also don't want to say that I haven't been writing for a year, because even though the last like book I wrote was The Blood That Divides Us last summer, I have been writing little short stories and mini projects, personal projects that will never see the light of day, so don't even think about it. but that are just for me, just for my amusement, and that definitely kind of helps keep my writing muscle strong and growing because it is important to keep it conditioned. So that happened, but we pushed through, and I will say, talking about timing, the ironic thing is I don't know how I didn't realize this. I think I was so stressed and overwhelmed and overstimulated yesterday that I didn't realize it until I was in the shower last night and having, typical shower thoughts. And I was like, oh my gosh, today's the 24th. I started this book on the 24th. I finished the book today. Today's the 24th. I did not realize yesterday was the 24th because now that I'm on summer break, my family and I are definitely homebodies. We stay home like 80% of the time. So it's like, now that I'm not going anywhere and I hardly even ever get ready, like the days blur together to me. Every day feels the same. There's nothing really significant to tell it apart, like with school. I didn't realize how symbolic that is. So I started this book on May 24th and I finished July 24th. So just coincidences of the universe. I think that's really fun. I think that's really cute. And I didn't even plan that. I swear. I wasn't like, I'm going to finish this book. No. But that makes the math easy. It took me 2 months to write this book. Now, mind you, this book is not going to be skinny. It's not skinny already. We're body positive around here, of course. But bringing me to my final statistics, just to give you a little bit of information about where this first draft is standing, it is 91,188 words, which is 442 pages, which, by the way, this is just about the same. So the first draft is basically the length of this, if it were to be printed right now. And it is 64 chapters. Now, I was telling this to a friend, and she's like, dang, that's crazy. And I'm like, I know, but like, hear me out. That sounds like a lot, especially for like a little over 400 pages. You're like, wait, 64 chapters. To be fair, 2 of them are the epilogue because voted on by you guys wanted a bonus epilogue, and I had the plot for it, and I was debating leaving the second one for like a newsletter exclusive or a pre-order campaign, but you guys really wanted me to include it in the book, so it's going to be included in both editions of the book. So chapters 63 and 64 are that blog. So technically 62 regular chapters. But even so, there are a good 9 or 10 of them, if I'm remembering correctly, that are Allison's. Now, Allison is the missing girl. She's kind of like the Andy Bell of this story. If you've read A Girl's Guide to Murder, if you're familiar with that. She is Natalia's sister, has been missing for 5 years, is connected to a current case that Natalia and the new FBI secret society that recruits her is investigating. She was a dancer, super popular. She was just like your typical popular athletic blonde, has a very, very small town that they're in an uproar. So she gets her own POV chapters, but don't be like, oh, so she's alive. I never said she was alive, but they are in past tense flashbacks to 5 years ago when like all this was going down, so that we slowly get to like see pieces and pieces of her story unraveling in the form of diary entries, which I thought was really fun. And they tested my patience to write. I think I've read maybe 1 or 2 books that I can think of off the top of my head that include diary entries as chapters. And I'm just like, I didn't have a frame of reference, and I was just kind of going with it, and her character voice was so hard, and I will definitely need beta reader feedback on that, because I feel like I didn't do her justice or her chapters justice. But anyway, due to like how I wanted that information to be organically revealed instead of someone just telling Natalia or telling the group like, hey, this happened to her, or this is what went down that night, I wanted her to like be documenting it herself, and then that's how the readers find out. So there are about 10 chapters, but the thing with hers is because they're diary entries and also because of triggers and stuff that happens, I did not want to drag it out. I did not want to prolong it. So her chapters are always 1,000 words or less. None of her chapters are more than 1,000 words. So I think the average for her POV chapters are like 500 words. So if there's 10 of them, like, you gotta keep in mind. And then, speaking of POVs, I'm just bouncing this. This is so chaotic. I'm sorry. For anyone here, thank you for bearing with me. But I did include some other POVs. It's not a dual POV. It's not like one of those where every other chapter has the guy's POV or anything like that. I feel like that's better equipped for a straight up contemporary romance. Maybe a fantasy romance. it kind of depends. It varies on if the author can execute it and then also if the plot allows for it. I just feel like in a mystery romance, especially because the two guys are so sus, they're not red flags. They are like a green flag forest. They are gentlemen. I love them both so much. I hope you will too. I wrote who she ends up with, but I really love the other guy too, so it's not like a trade-off situation. Beyond that, we're keeping so many secrets. They are mysterious men. And so I think having so many frequent back-to-back chapters of their POV would ruin half of the plot twist that I have planned, because half of the plot twist revolve around them and their childhood and their involvement with each other. So I was like, I don't want to do that. But I have a couple sprinkled in, mainly through Kyle, that kind of makes up for that. But those were super short. One of the chapters, I think it was like chapter 6, it was something I read in my notes actually during a class period during April or May, so I kind of just had been saving it and letting it simmer until I actually got to writing that point, because I was working on the outline at that time. It is literally, I'm not even joking, I think it's like 40 words. I'm not kidding. I didn't want to do like a chapter break. I really wanted that dramaticness of a new chapter. So his other POV chapter, which happens near the end around a betrayal, is also not as short. It's a Google Doc page and a half, so I'm pretty sure like 400 words, maybe 300. So anyway, I have short chapters. Long live short chapters. We love that. That is my preference. I know that's a lot of readers' preferences. So getting back to what I was originally talking about, like why it took me so long. Like what I'm trying to say, this book is long, okay? So granted, 2 months is pretty justified. However, I'm the queen of comparison. That is one of my most fatal flaws. I overthink and I compare myself to not only other people, but to past Marcelina, which is really bad. I know, I'm trying so hard to stop. This entire process kept thinking, okay, I wrote a book in 2 months. That's great. It's 91,000 words. That's fantastic. But last year, I wrote The Blood That Divides Us in not even a month and a half. I started August 1st, finished September 9th. And that first draft, do you want to know how long it was? 88,000 words. That's like barely a difference. Okay, 3K words. Again, 2K words is my average. I could have knocked that 3K out in a day or two. But the fact that it took me twice as long, almost twice as long, it was barely more than my last one, is like, it was embarrassing to me. I was like, am I getting worse? Am I burning out more? Like, am I losing my passion in writing? What am I doing? Because it's just like, I feel like as a writer, you're like, oh, you're gonna get better, you're gonna get faster with every book. I don't know why it took me so dang long compared to my last one. Like, it's just like, I'm trying to pinpoint a single reason why it took so long, and I can't think of any. My mind is going absolutely blank right now. Maybe it was that writing slump, although that writing slump wasn't even that long. Didn't even cross a week. But I don't even think I hit a writing slump, or even if it was like a couple of days. I don't think I hit as big of one in that process. So I know comparison is the thief of joy, and especially to your past self, you should not. It just like kind of got in my head of like, what does this mean? Like, why am I going slower? Because I wrote that one during the summer too. I have just as much, actually I have more free time because I was moving states, so I was packing through half of that, and then we got here and then I actually started high school. So it was like, what? And then now this summer is 10 times calmer, and I really dragged it along way more than I should have. But that's my writing process for you, and that's really just a good life lesson story time for all of you writers who maybe you've written multiple books, or maybe you're working on a series and you're working on book 2 or 3 or whatever, and you notice that like you're not writing as fast as book 1, or it's not flowing as easily as book 1. That is okay. I'm here to tell you that is okay. And it doesn't have to. I think this is a real life example that you don't always have to be better than your past self. And at anything, not even just at writing. Like if you are in a sport, let's say it's swimming. Let's say you have a swim meet, right? And you get your time and you do amazing. And then you have another swim meet the next week and you try to beat that record because you're like, I just did really good last week. Like I've been practicing in between. I should do just as well, if not even better. And then you get a way worse time. that is okay. Does that mean that you're getting worse? No, absolutely not. Just, it's all about your mood. It's all about how you're feeling that day. Did you get more sleep last week than today? Did something happen in between where maybe you're just like not as focused, not as concentrated? It's a different time, it's a different circumstance, it's a different version of you. And you can't always compare your achievements of what you did yesterday, a month ago, 2 years ago, to how your future is going to look, and let that dictate it. And so I think that was really hard for me to get over. I would say that was the biggest challenge, was like, I kept referencing, okay, at this point last year, how many words had I written compared to what I've written now? Like, it's not a competition with your past self. So please just go at your own pace, and the story is done when it's done. You can't rush it. I also feel like you can't drag it out too much, like, and so you will know. You will just have that feeling when it is finished, when it tells you that it is done and there is no more story left to tell. And I think however long it takes you to write that in the most satisfying way possible is okay. And I think if it takes me, it did take me 2 months to write this and for this story to tell me, hey Marcelina, like, we're good, this is perfect for us, perfect length, then it's done. And I'm happy that it is done. So overall, closing thoughts. How did this go? How do I feel about the draft? I said this in my newsletter. By the way, if you are not subscribed to my newsletter, however, and want to be, you can sign up at my website. I will put it on the screen and then link it in the description down below. I would highly recommend it. It's free. You get bonus perks, early access to things, sneak peeks as they come before anyone else on YouTube gets them, etc. It's a fun time. But I talked about how I am pretty sure that this draft is the messiest draft I've ever written in my life. And I'm also not saying that in a form of like imposter syndrome or like, no. The words I hate this draft were on the tip of my tongue, but then I took it back. I don't hate this draft. I actually really, really adore parts of it. I really think there are going to be some parts that almost word for word say the same, because there are a couple of scenes that I'm just like, they came out of me like a poet. It was perfect. From just like the conceptualization of my mind to the screen, it was amazing. Overall, there are so many plot holes. Oh yeah, so that happened. A lot of inconsistencies that I realized halfway through, but the thing is, I am not an edit as I go girl. I know a lot of you are, and if you are, I'm actually jealous of you, because I sincerely wish I could be that. I don't think you should consolidate a whole draft to this and like bank on like, oh, I'm editing now, so like I don't have to do a draft later. Like, you still should, and like that'd probably be in your best interest, but it just makes your first draft so much cleaner, so much more polished. And because I just can't do that just doesn't work for me, my rough drafts come out looking like a dumpster fire that then got thrown into a lake to like put the fire out, so then it's like kind of okay, but then it got set on fire again and like thrown off a cliff, so then it set the whole cliff on fire. I don't even know what I'm talking about, guys, but what I'm trying to say, it's messy. It is messy. There are things I'm like, tangents I go on. If you can't tell by my speaking mannerisms, I go on tangents a lot. I just ramble, and that kind of carries through my writing, and then I like was supposed to start in one place, then I end up in a different place, and it's so chaotic, it's so unhinged, it's just not like okay, we're gonna leave it at that. So I think editing Marcelina has a lot cut out for her, but I also do really, really love this book. I love so much of it. I love the characters. I think it has really good bones and potential. I just need to work hard and like really grind the next few months to get it up to, first of all, to get it to a level where I'm comfortable sending it to beta readers, because right now that is not it. I do not want anyone else to read it right now. It is kind of embarrassing. But then even harder once they get to it, because I'm planning to have 4 to 5 beta readers. Well, I have 3 confirmed, and then I have another person who might, and then one I need to ask. So we'll see if it all pans out, but once it gets through their eyes and they give me feedback, I need to edit it some more completely to get it up to publication level. But overall, I feel meh. Okay, it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like I feel super, super confident, like I could almost publish this now, and then 1 being like I want to burn this, I actually don't want to publish it anymore. I'm feeling a solid 5. I think right smack dab in the middle. I don't completely hate it because that wouldn't be fair to myself. Also, I was reading through because I was making an edit and it was a quote edit and I was like, oh, like I already finished it, so I really don't want to read back through it. I just read through a certain section so I could pull out quotes. I was reading that section to like find what scene I wanted to use for this edit and I was like, wait, why is this scene actually so good? The tension, the drama, chef's kiss. I'm like, wait, I wrote this? So I feel like I had one of those moments. So I don't think that this whole draft is bad. I think, like I said, there are a few scenes that I actually will probably stay for the most part word for word because I'm really happy with them and I think I executed them well. But the thing is, this plot is so complex that I feel like it's kind of starting to get a little convoluted and it's getting lost, and there's like a million subplots and they're all getting lost in each other, and it's just making things so like there's so much going on, and that's a little overwhelming. So that actually brings me to the last part, the concluding part of this video, which is what's next for me. I'm talking a lot about my experience with this book, how I finished it. I'm now done with draft 1, woohoo! But what's coming up next? What's in the cards for me? So I'm a firm believer in taking a break between your first draft and your second draft. It's really just that. It doesn't have to be other drafts. I like immediately go through my other drafts. I will finish draft 3 and then immediately start draft 4. You know what I mean? But just the first and the second, I believe there should be, ideally, if you can, at least a week to 2, preferably 3 weeks in between. That you just don't touch it, you don't read it, you don't work on it at all. You distract yourself maybe with another writing project, with reading a lot, just anything else. Because it really helps kind of switch your brain from that writer to reader/editor mode that you need to be in for the second draft, because the second draft, if you didn't know, is, at least in my process, the developmental edits, the big picture plot stuff, and that is things where I almost need to turn into a reader because I do a full read through of the manuscript to make notes and comments of things I need to change, but I have to act like a reader so that I can kind of take off my writer blindness rose-colored glasses and focus on like the actual issues. Not sweep anything under the rug, just really address it as it should be addressed. That's going to be noticeable for everyone else to see. And I just feel like that requires a different part of your brain that for a lot of us is hard to just flip on and off on the daily, or even if you give it a couple of days. So I think just giving it time helps you, and then also you can come back to it not being so like zoomed in. You can kind of have a zoomed out view and a fresh new perspective, fresh eyes. I think that's really, really important when you're trying to edit, especially these big developmental things. That being said, I am not going to look at it. Like I said, I looked at it today, but that was only because I needed to make an edit, but we're not going to make any more quote edits because I don't want to look at it anymore. But we are not going to look at it, not even going to open the document until Monday, August 4th, which as I'm recording, today's Friday, so that's a week and a half. Not even a week and a half, like a week and 2 days. Which I know I'm taking like the cheap route. I am kind of, it's like a discounted version of a break because it's not even 2 weeks. Here's the deal though. Here's the deal. I forgot to mention, you know what my original deadline for this book was? 4th of July. I was being so unrealistic with myself, but also I didn't anticipate a writing slump, and I think if I didn't have that, and I did like a 10K day before that, I think I might have been able to accomplish it. But that really threw me off. I was thinking, okay, I'll finish around July 4th, maybe even the 5th or the 6th. I'll give myself that. And then I'll start editing August 1st. And that'll give me so much time. And obviously that never happened. Clearly. The reason I'm so adamant about it being the beginning of August, though, is because I start school on August 11th. And I already have some beta readers for this project scheduled for like the end of August, beginning of September. I think I can move it, like at the latest, slate them for the beginning of September. That leaves me, if I start, like once school starts, that's going to be my top priority. So I really want to at least get a head start on some of the big revisions before school starts. I want to give myself at least a week before I have to completely switch gears and my time and my schedule is altered. It's a toss-up between do I want a longer break, and in which case I have to push back when I'm going to start editing, or would I rather sacrifice, only get like barely over a week off, but then I can edit pretty much right on schedule, and then everything can be streamlined because I don't have time. My deadlines aren't too flexible or movable because I've already set a release date. I'm working on like the cover reveal and pre-order date right now and finalizing that. Like, I just don't have time. So I think that I am sacrificing a bit of a break, so we are going to start editing then. In the meantime, I'm not just going to be sitting doing nothing. I'm not taking a break from YouTube, by the way. I'm still going to be doing these. I think next week's video, I haven't decided yet. This was just more like, so I read a book, my experience, my reflections. I think next week is going to be like general, like, oh, you want to write a book? Here are some tips based on what I've learned here, like some things I think you should do or shouldn't do that'll help you actually finish it. I'm also going to be designing the cover in this next week. If you didn't know, I've gotten a lot of compliments on this cover. I designed this myself. I'm really proud of it. I think that I do have some experience with graphic design, and it was completely free to make, and I'm just like, I want to do it. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so this makes me happy, especially as a broke teenager. We're going that route. But that takes a lot of time, and I just feel like having something a little bit more artsy, a little bit more creative will really help like completely turn the writer side of my brain off and like give me that actual break that I need. Although the only writing thing that I will be doing is I am going to be writing the blurb, the official blurb, because the thing is I like to like sort of kind of finalize the covers, and then I need the blurb. I have put placeholders before because really I don't need to finalize the cover until cover reveal day, which I'm thinking will be around my birthday, which is the end of November, but I don't really know. So we're gonna be doing those two things. And then I may also be starting a little spreadsheet for some pre-order and ARC stuff. I did this last time, but I want to send an even bigger batch of ARCs to booktubers, book reviewers, maybe even some fellow authors. So I compile a very complicated spreadsheet of like contact information for them and just like who I want to contact, so that when it comes time in like December, January to reach out to these people, I am not just like scrambling around trying to find people. I have a list. So we might dip my toes into that, but basically just anything other than writing or tinkering with it, and we're gonna wait until the beginning of August to worry about the revisions. This video is getting so long. To wrap it up, this book has been a whirlwind. It has been a roller coaster of emotions, like any word you want to use to describe how painful yet blissfully amazing this experience has been. Like, go ahead and use that, because it's literally been equally the best and worst thing that I've done all year. In 2025, it has been equally the easiest and hardest thing I've done all year in 2025. Easiest because writing is just such a passion. So when you have a passion for the words and you're not just doing it to publish or to make money, like when you genuinely love it, it comes easy. It was also low-key so challenging. The plot twist broke my brain because they're so complicated. The plot is so complicated. Even with an outline, you would think like with an outline, I know this is almost like writing it a second time because of how detailed I map it out. But no, it was a lot. But I'm just proud of myself that I persevered. I didn't give in to the noise, the doubt, the imposter syndrome in myself, and I wrote a whole book. And it's coming out in February, and even though this is only draft 1 and I have so many more to go, so many more with these characters in this world, I don't have to say goodbye to them just yet. Like, I am very excited for all that's to come, to the future of not only like me and this book and the like future drafts, but also just my career, this channel. Like, looking ahead, I feel optimistic because this feels like I just accomplished this really big milestone, and there are better things ahead. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. We did it. We did it. We wrote another book. Writing books in summer is such a vibe. And it's not even a summer book. It literally takes place during Halloween and then November, and then the first epilogue takes place during Christmas. So the vibes aren't there, but it does release in the winter, so I guess the vibes will kind of be there. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you can't tell, my throat is dying. I've been talking for an hour. I really need to cut this video down because that's crazy. Thank you so much if you're still here. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you tuning in, hearing me ramble about how chaotic the last 2 months have been, all of the lovely, heartwarming comments that you always leave on all of my vlogs, all of my edits, cheering me on. It was really like a flashlight in the darkness that I was facing, that if I was scrolling on my phone and then I saw one of your really sweet comments, I was like, oh, now I want to work on the books. And I like put my phone away and I like grabbed my computer and I actually made progress on it, because even though I'm not writing to publish, I'm not writing necessarily for you guys, I'm writing for myself, but I do really want you guys to read it too. Like, seeing that I'm not my only fan, even though that's important, but like there are so many other people who are rooting for me and are genuinely invested and excited for this book, means the absolute world. So thank you, keep supporting. There's so much more to come from me, and I will see you all in the next video very soon. Bye!